Number 1. Birthmarks, the devil's signature. Imagine it's the 15th century. You're just going about your day, doing your best to avoid the plague and minding your own business. Then one afternoon, you bend over to pick up a turnip or whatever people were into back then, and your ever-nosy neighbor catches a glimpse of a birthmark on your back. Instead of saying, "Hey, cool birthmark," they scream, "Witch." Suddenly, you're the star of your very own witch trial. Back in those days, birthmarks weren't seen as harmless skin quirks. Nope, they were called the devil's mark. People genuinely believed that Satan himself had paid you a visit, branded your skin like livestock, and welcomed you to Team Evil. But it gets even weirder. These so-called devil's marks were believed to be magically numb, so witch hunters would stab them with needles to test for pain. Didn't flinch? Congrats, you're a witch. Flinched because, well, being poked with a sharp object hurts? Too bad. They said you were faking it. And just to make sure you couldn't win either way, some witch hunters even used retractable needles. You know, the kind that look like they poke you but don't actually break the skin. So even if you felt nothing, it was because the needle was fake, not because you were magical. But of course, they'd never tell you that. So yeah, birthmarks in the Middle Ages? Less beauty mark, more burn-at-the-stake material. Number 2. Sleepwalking, a midnight stroll straight to the stake. Back in the day, people were suspicious of everything. If you happened to wander around at night, eyes closed, mumbling nonsense, they didn't say, "Oh, sleep disorder." Nope. They said, "Witch." They didn't have science. They had superstition, and to them, someone sleepwalking was clearly communing with the devil himself. Uncle Ted muttering in his sleep? Forget medical help. Grab the torches. Now imagine you mumbled something while sleepwalking. Today, no one would care. But back then, whispering gibberish in your sleep was pretty much casting a spell in your dreams. And if, by sheer coincidence, something bad happened the next day, say the blacksmith's horse caught a cold, guess who they blamed? That's right, sleepy Uncle Ted. In medieval times, sleepwalking was risky business. One moment you're peacefully tucked into bed dreaming of castles and ale. The next, you're being dragged in front of the village elders because you sleep mumbled something that sounded vaguely witchy. Number 3. Whistling, humming your way into a witch hunt. Yep, you heard that right. Whistling could get you accused of witchcraft in the Middle Ages. Certain tunes were believed to have magical powers. One whistle might summon a wind so strong it could rip the roof off your neighbor's cottage like a medieval frisbee. Another could allegedly make milk spoil, because obviously, witches had it out for dairy. You'd think if someone had magical whistling powers, they'd aim a little higher than ruining Bertha's breakfast. But hey, which priorities, right? It didn't stop at what you whistled. Where you whistled mattered too. Whistling near specific trees. Clearly a secret meeting with your coven. Whistling while walking past a graveyard. Oh, you're obviously trying to wake the dead. Whistling inside a church. Massive no-no. Some folks even believe that whistling certain melodies let you communicate with animals. So imagine this. You're strolling along, whistling a happy tune, and a cow happens to look your way. Suddenly, you're being dragged to the town square because Bessie the cow seemed a little too into your music. In short, if you couldn't carry a tune in the Middle Ages, that might have been the safest thing about you. Number 4. Left-handedness, the devil's favorite hand. Being left-handed might just make you unique today, but in the Middle Ages, it made you suspicious. Most people were, and still are, right-handed, so lefties were seen as different. And different wasn't good. People genuinely believed the devil was left-handed. So if you were a lefty, clearly you were under his influence. Logical, right? But it didn't stop there. If you were left-handed, your word meant nothing in court. You could be telling the absolute truth, swearing on your life, and they'd still say, "Sounds like the devil talking." So imagine being hauled into court, trying to defend yourself, and having the judge go, "Oh, you write with your left hand? Case closed, witch." Today, the worst a lefty has to deal with is smudging ink while writing. Back then, it could land you on trial for sorcery. Number 5. Yawning, opening the door for demons. We all yawn. It's natural. But in the Middle Ages, yawning wasn't just a sign you were tired. It was a spiritual security risk. People back then believed that yawning opened your mouth and your soul to the outside world. Stretch your jaw a little too wide, and boom, you just rolled out the red carpet for demons to stroll right in. And once your soul slipped out, you were basically demon real estate. This idea really took off during the bubonic plague. One of the common symptoms? Excessive yawning. So naturally, people connected the dots the most medieval way possible. Yawning equals death equals demons. The solution? Every time you yawned, you had to make the sign of the cross over your mouth. It was like a holy deadbolt. Skip the sign, and people thought you were either already possessed or just really casual about letting evil spirits hitch a ride. Even babies weren't safe. If a baby yawned and obviously couldn't do the sign themselves, an adult had to do it for them. And if you yawned in public without doing it, huge red flag. That simple yawn might as well have been shouting, "Yes, I serve the Dark Lord." Number 6. Owning cats. Perfectly suspicious. In the Middle Ages, cats, especially black ones, weren't seen as cute, fluffy companions. Nope, they were seen as miniature demons on 4 legs. Why? Well, cats are nocturnal, mysterious, and let's face it, they sometimes stare at you like they know something you don't. So when your neighbor Martha saw you hanging out with your cats, she wasn't thinking, "Ah, what adorable kitties." She was sprinting to the local priest screaming, "Witch!" And just like that, you were on trial. Not because you cast a spell, but because Mr. Paws liked to sit in your lap. The irony? Cats were actually useful. They were the medieval MVPs of pest control. They helped keep rats, and by extension, the plague, at bay. But logic didn't stand a chance against good old-fashioned superstition. So there you were, just trying to explain how your cat preferred sunbathing to summoning Satan. But the villagers didn't care. In their minds, every purr was a dark incantation, and every meow was a coded message to the underworld. Number 7. Cat sneezes, a deadly issue. By now, we've established that cats were basically seen as the devil's furry sidekicks. So what happened if one of these suspicious little beasts sneezed near you? Well, bad news. That sneeze, it wasn't just a cute little achoo. In the minds of medieval villagers, it was a full-on demonic conversation. If a cat sneezed near you, it clearly meant the two of you were communicating. And if cats were besties with the devil, then guess what? That made you his pen pal. So in the eyes of your deeply superstitious neighbors, a random sneeze from Whiskers turned into a damning piece of evidence. Forget curses, spells, or broomsticks. A single feline sniffle was all it took to brand you a witch. Because obviously, there's no such thing as allergies when you live in a world where every sneeze might summon Satan. Number 8. Brewing beer, witchcraft on tap. Today, brewing your own beer is considered a cool hobby. Back in the Middle Ages, it could get you burned at the stake. See, beer brewing back then was mainly a woman's job. Long before bearded guys in flannel shirts took over the scene, medieval women were the brewmasters. But if your beer was too good, like talk of the village, good, people didn't cheer. They got suspicious. Because obviously, there's no way a woman could just be really skilled, right? If your brew tasted better than old Jeff's down the road, jealous neighbors started whispering, "She must be putting spells in the pot." Let's break down your typical medieval home brewery. Big cauldron? Check. Long wooden stirring stick? Check. A cat hanging around to chase mice? Check. Sounds cozy. Until you realize that's also the exact starter pack for a stereotypical witch. Big potion pot, possible broomstick, and Satan's sidekick curled up by the fire. So yeah, that perfectly crafted beer you're proud of might just be your one-way ticket to a witch trial. Cheers. Number 9. Making good cheese. Too good to be true. Picture this. You're living in a sleepy medieval village where everyone makes cheese. But your cheese? It's legendary, creamy, rich, flawless every single time. Meanwhile, your neighbor Dave is out here churning up cheese that tastes like regret, and old Betty's wheels could double as bricks. Instead of being impressed, people start getting uneasy. How is it, they whisper, that only their cheese turns out perfect? Back then, no one understood bacteria, fermentation, or temperature control. So when they saw someone consistently nailing it in the cheese game, they didn't think skilled craftsperson. They thought witch. Rumors spread like wildfire. They said you must be chanting spells over your cheese vat or, worse, stealing the flavor from their cheese with dark magic. Yep, you heard that right. Medieval folks believed a witch could literally siphon the goodness from other people's cheese and pour it into their own. Forget talent. If your cheese was too good, your neighbors assumed it was supernatural sabotage. Turns out, in the Middle Ages, being great at dairy could be downright dangerous. Number 10. Double yolk eggs, breakfast of the damned. Imagine you're a woman living in 16th century France. One morning, you head out to collect eggs from your hens, and surprise, you find an egg with two yolks inside. Today, you'd probably smile and think, nice, extra protein. But back then, not so lucky. Double yolks were seen as unnatural, a sign that something wasn't right. And if anything weird happened on your property, people didn't shrug it off. They asked the most medieval question possible. Is this witchcraft? The answer? Of course it was. Villagers believed that either you had cursed your hens, or, worse, you were using these strange eggs for dark rituals. Because obviously, the only reason a chicken would lay a double yolk egg is demonic interference. It didn't matter that biology sometimes does weird things. If your eggs didn't look exactly like everyone else's, you became the problem. So yeah, congrats on the extra yolk. Now try explaining to the angry mob that you're not baking pastries for Satan.